Well, hello, homesteading community. It is me. It is Mark. Welcome to the house on Avery Road. Now, I need to tell y'all a little bit about the house on Avery Road. You just seen a clip of it right here in that little trailer, and I'm gonna have a nice trailer eventually, but I've got to go home to Mississippi so I can film some stuff. But once again, my name is Mark, and I'm not a homesteader in the traditional sense. I grew up on a farm, not a working farm. We had gardens and we planted commercially. I didn't. Paul and Daddy did. But I very well remember that life growing up around animals and everything. And I say it wasn't a working farm because it really wasn't a working farm. We didn't have cows and we didn't have ducks. We had some chickens. I'm going through a tunnel right now and it is very dark. Can you see me now? But anyway, I really loved that lifestyle growing up, but I didn't think I loved it at the time. At the time, I was like, get me out of this podunk place. I thought I was a city boy. I thought I wanted to be in the city, in town. So when I graduated high school, I went to college and everything, I did move. I moved away, and I moved to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where I reside right now. And I moved up here years ago so I could sing and be a star. I was going to be a star. I'm a star in my own mind, but I'm not a star by any means. But anyway, I moved up here, met the love of my life, and we built a house here in Pigeon Forge and built a life. The older I get, the more simplistic I want to live. A few years ago, I started missing working in the dirt. Not missing it because I had never done it before, but I'd seen Mama and Daddy and Mama and Paul all work in the fields and work in the gardens and everything, and the abundance that they would bring in. Now, when I grew up, if Daddy didn't kill it or we didn't grow it, we didn't eat it. So I'm not a picky eater by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, I love it. But anyway, as the older I got, the more food, I just wanted to grow food. So a few years ago, I said, I'm going to grow me a tomato. So I planted me a tomato. Probably like a beefsteak or an early girl or something like that. And it didn't do much of nothing. It maybe had 2 tomatoes on it that was about that big around that was rotting on the bottom. And I didn't know why. Why was my tomatoes rotting on the bottom? So I just chucked it up to I can't grow tomatoes, because I tried that a couple of years. And I couldn't grow tomatoes. So I tried some squash. Squash did pretty good. I could grow squash. But I wanted more than just squash, because when I figured out I could grow squash, I'd grow 5 to 7 plants and have squash coming out my ears. Didn't know what to do with it. Didn't know how to preserve it. I just knew I had squash, and nobody would take it from me because I'd give it to everybody and nobody wanted no more. So fast forward a little bit to last year, I had one tomato plant growing out in my beds, a cherry tomato, and it was knee-deep in weeds. And I said, I'm tired of this. I want to find out why I can't grow anything. I want to learn. I want to learn how to grow. I'm doing something wrong. So I started Googling, right? Or YouTubing. And the first person I come across was Emma Gardner. And I watched Luke, and I just dove into Emma Gardner. I mean, if Luke Marin said it, I took it hard. Well, then I started finding more and more YouTubers. And I tell you about the timeline. When Luke opened his storefront and all the homesteaders went there and they was doing videos, well, I wanted to see more of them, so I got sucked into some videos. Well, I found Roots and Refuge. I found Living Traditions Homestead with Kevin and Sarah. I love them. I found White House on the Hill, and I loved seeing all of their poultry on White House on the Hill. I found so many channels, and I shouldn't even have started saying anything because there's so many more channels than that. VW Family Farm. There's so many more channels that I watch now, but I dove headfirst into learning, what am I doing wrong? How do I grow tomatoes? And when I found Jess and Maya, I just fell in love with them. Then I found Gary from The Rusted Gardener, Callie Kim. Everybody was just, and I learned so much because when my tomato plant was knee deep in weeds, I realized, I said, okay, it is like August. I've got a full season before I start planting anything to learn. So I dove in and I learned and I took in everything I could and I started planting. When the seed catalogs came out, I started buying seeds. I've never sprouted a seed before in my life, but I started getting seeds. I found the tomatoes that I wanted to grow from seed, and I ain't never done that before. I'm like, I've gone crazy. I've lost my mind. Wayne told me, he said, you ain't never grown nothing from no seed. I said, I know, but I'm going to this year. Well, I went out in my flower beds, and that's the only dirt I got, y'all, is in a flower bed. I ripped out every flower, every weed, everything in the flower beds come out, except for some bearded iris that may come out this year. Squirrel! I just ran off on a tangent. But anyway, I built raised beds. Luke, how do you build raised beds? Google, YouTube. I watched everybody and their mama build raised beds. So off the lows I went. I didn't have a hammer. I didn't have a nail. I didn't have nothing. But I did have a very helpful neighbor that seen me over there with a little old hammer and a screwdriver and some screws. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm building raised beds. He said, no, with that you ain't. But he helped me anyway. See, another squirrel. But anyway, I built some raised beds, and I had 2 raised beds ready before the fall, right? Because I wanted to grow something. So I planted some cabbages, and I planted some collard greens, and I planted some turnip greens, and I planted some kale. And all that stuff was just amazing. And I guess it was because it was so slow and everything. There was no bugs over the winter, and we had a mild winter last year. So all that kind of stuff grew, and it gave me a little confidence, right? Because I had went and bought some Trifecta Plus from over at Luke's place. I bought some Trifecta Plus, and I fertilized them beds. Brand spanking new beds. Well, anyway, growed that through the wintertime, and then come springtime, I had built 1, 2, 3 more raised beds and an arched trellis. So that got me on my gardening journey this spring. And I started posting some little garden tours, and that's where y'all come in. A lot of people said, Mark, we really want you to have a YouTube channel. Why? I don't know nothing. I'm learning so much. But anyway, you've made it to the house on Avera Road, and you'll learn. I will go off on a tangent. I'll chase squirrels. I'll lose my train of thought. But on this channel, what can you expect from me? You're going to watch me learn, make mistakes, fail miserably, I'm sure, at a couple of things, but you'll also see some of my successes in what I do. I'm very excited about that. But for my life, you're going to see me canning, because I love to can, and I've learned a lot about that. And you're going to see me cooking. I love to cook, and it shows. You can't get to look like this without liking to cook. But anyway, I want to welcome y'all to the channel, the house on Avera Road, and I hope you enjoy it. Please click the subscribe button when you're watching this video. Click the little bell so you'll get notifications whenever y'all know what to do. You click the bell, subscribe, and leave comments, y'all. I love to read comments, I love to hear comments, and I love to meet people. So anyway, once again, my name is Mark. Welcome to the house on Avera Road, and I will see y'all a little later on. Bye!